Dorothea, greetings from Dublin. I believe you're not too far away this morning. Where are you?
Good morning. I'm in London, England, enjoying the lovely yet somewhat schizophrenic weather.
Oh, very good. It's always a little bit kind of skitsy here on this side of the Atlantic. Where do you normally reside, Dorothea?
That's a very good question, Parik. I really live out of two red suitcases. I go where my clients are and where I'm speaking and where I can add value.
Excellent, excellent. So tell me why you're in London today. I think there's an interesting celebration or an award going to be bestowed upon you. Is that true?
Yes, that's correct. I can't go into grave detail except to say that there is a brand that's giving me an innovation award for something that I came up with that allowed them to win a lot of awards via advertising and digital marketing. When I sold them the idea, I was so grateful that I was covering my mortgage for a couple of months. I had no idea that they were going to make millions of dollars off the idea. So I'm really not only humbled, but also very grateful to the brand for offering to buy me lunch.
So innovation is a word you've just mentioned, Dorothea, and that's something obviously that everybody working in the incentive travel industry is interested in. How are you going to be talking about innovation when you come to Vancouver to our annual conference?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I will probably cover it with regards to how it pertains to social media. What type of innovations you might want to utilize as a brand, whether you are working for a large enterprise organization like a hotel chain, or if you're working as a solo practitioner or freelancer as a member of meetings and incentives. Knowing what type of technologies to utilize to put your content out there, measure it, and adequately be able to see where it is resonating, right, over which channel. That's really important. But that's only going to be a small portion of the other presentation that I'll be giving to the people that attend my keynote at Site Global's annual international event in Vancouver.
So social media obviously is something that you've been building a career around over the last number of years, and a very successful career in that regard. So you're going to be talking in an environment where really face-to-face is primary, and sometimes social media puts that whole thing at one arm's length. So how do you actually keep that personal face-to-face connection while kind of using social media?
Well, here's something that's really unique, Parik, that you may or may not be aware of as it pertains to social media marketing. One of the things that I'm finding is that more and more people in the meetings and planning and incentives industry are using social media as a conduit to create thought leadership, digital thought leadership, by having a bigger, let's call it electronic footprint or digital footprint that attracts people to what it is that they do and how they do it. Also, social media is a great way to talk about how an event is planned. I like to call it the three-prong approach. Prior to the event happening, like you and I talking today about this fabulous event in January, during the time frame with which that it's happening, and then after which time. So being able to tell that story arc is also very important. And now, more than ever, what we're finding in social media is that the utilization of private messaging is really paramount to getting the business. More and more people are using direct messaging or private messaging. Sometimes you'll see them go by little acronyms in messaging like PM me, which means private message me, or DM me, direct message me. And you're finding that people who are attracted to a brand are looking for that brand or individual to have a conversation with them. So that's why messaging apps like Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and even the Instagram Messenger sliding into somebody's DMs or PMs has become paramount into closing business.
And tell me, Dorothea, just in terms of industries that actually use social media, you work obviously across many, many different industries. Which are the ones that impress you for their adoption of social media and their ability to flourish as an industry in and through the use of social media?
So that's a really good question, and it's almost like asking a mother, which one is your favorite child? I think there are a lot of industries that are doing great work, and I don't want to necessarily hone in on one or the other. What I will say is that the industries that I find are doing things that are very interesting and tend to be a little bit more cutting edge are innovation, right? Because they can afford to shake things up a little bit to get attention. But also, if you really look at B2B2C companies, and what I mean by that is a hotel chain, right, that's trying to get somebody to buy their brand, but also is trying to get you or I to book in a room. I noticed you were wearing Nobu Hotel there, right? They're trying to get the attention of somebody by creating an experience. So that's a B2B2C brand. The consumer knows Nobu Hotel by that fabulous and sort of luxurious name of Nobu, but they also know that they need to put their head in a bed at night and they want to get a deal. So it's interesting. Now, Nobu themselves might be looking at a franchisee or a hotelier to sell their brand to, so that hotelier would think of Nobu as a certain type of brand versus something like Marriott or Intercontinental Hotels or Holiday Inn. Does that make sense? So they can make some, for lack of a better term, more innovative, more creative types of social media content that can attract the consumer, the person who's going to book a room, but also the hotelier or franchisee, so that they can get excited about having that brand versus like a Holiday Inn or a Marriott or maybe a W Hotel.
So, Dorothéa, you mentioned a lot of brands, a lot of wonderful global hotel brands like Marriott and IHG. There are so many of them, and they're all wonderful. And many of them actually will be in the room when you're speaking to us in Vancouver at the end of January. We have a huge membership among the global hotel chains and the independent hotel chains as well. But one of the limitations sometimes, particularly in relation to social media, is social media prospers because a tweet or a post has personality. It represents the person behind it. And sometimes brands struggle to gain the same traction online as an individual does. So how do you get around that? How do you work, say, within the brand guidelines of your hotel group, while at the same time allowing your own personality to shine through?
Right. That's a great question, Parik. And I want to tell you that I get asked this quite frequently. It is difficult, if you're working in a large brand, to adequately articulate the brand's messages, within the roadmap or framework that they've given to you. And I always tell people, it's like, you existed before you went to go work for this company, right? So you are your own personal brand already. But when you are working with them, you do have to work within the confines of what they legally want you to say. Obviously, that Parik, you existed before Solnua, right? Before your events company. So what I will say is that I like to call it courting your brand. Imagine having a business card with two sides to it. One side is Parik and what you do, and the other side might be the larger entity that you're working for. So yes, it's very important that not only you kind of, not only dip your toes in, but get fully, immersed in your brand's messaging. And that should be part of what you do. But it's also very important that you let your own personality shine through. I don't need to tell you that big, large companies make changes every day. And you may one day be working as a meeting and events executive at a large hotel chain and find that there are better opportunities for you working at a cosmetic brand or at another hotel that might be a bit more independent. So it's really important that you not only embrace who you are, but that you also follow the instructions of the brand and try to do your best to get their, information out there within your own social media channels. And I think it's important too for a meeting planning professional or executive to be in on those meetings, have a voice. If you know something that's really hitting your industry, or for instance, cyclically what's happening, in a year's time in your city, okay? Maybe you might want to, I'll give you an example. If you work for the Intercontinental Hotel, Grand Palais in Paris, and you know that a great number of people have babies in October, you might be able to say to the social media team, hey, come August, September, we need to be talking about the events and the spaces that we have to host baby showers, right? Or, maternity functions or what have you. I think that's really unique and interesting to be not only inclusive in the conversation, but understand what you're taking on so that you also can be a part of how that information is distributed and how that content is being seen by people out on the internet. The internet doesn't sleep, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, it certainly doesn't sleep. I'd say you don't
Yeah.
sleep either, Dorothéa. You look like somebody who's constantly awake.
Yes, I get told a lot. The young lady that set this up today, and I really want to thank Aoife and Naren. They did a great job of organizing and orchestrating this call with you. It's such a delight to finally meet you. I know you by reputation only, so thank you again so much for the generous gift of your time. They really commented initially when we met on the phone that I'm sort of naturally caffeinated, and you'll see that in my presentations. They're highly interactive. I really enjoy getting the audience involved. I ask a ton of questions because I want to make sure that what I'm doing is empowering people with the right kind of information. That if I give them 10 things, they can think to themselves, wow, I can apply these three things to my business, and I know I can be successful. And if I may compliment your industry, one of the things I really love about people who plan events, now this is incentives, this is large events, this is congresses, conferences, even down to like an 80-person wedding. I know I'm making it sound small, but you and I both know that's quite an undertaking. Yours is an industry that's very experiential, right? And you really get to know the customer in a way, let's go back to that personal touch, in a very intimate way. They're telling you their wants, their desires, what they want people to leave that event, that congress, that conference, that wedding, right? That bat mitzvah. What's that feeling that you want them to leave with? And I find that people in your industry understand something that most marketers do not, and that's empathy. You read a lot. Forbes just did an article recently on how you become more empathetic in your marketing. We used to talk about big data about 10 years ago, if you remember, and then it was personalization and getting to know Powrick, and that, he loves skiing or he might really enjoy fishing on the weekends. That's great. But having a level of empathy creates the type of experience that is so resonating, that is so meaningful, that people will talk about it, 10 years to come. And that's the kind of thing that I find about your industry that's so resonating with me. So why wouldn't you want the type of personal brand and the type of social media presence that shares your empathy, your experience, your expertise, that helps you resonate with audiences you'd never connected with before?
Excellent. Very good. Dorothéa, I think that's been a wonderful conversation. I think you've really set up a lot of expectation and a lot of anticipation in relation to your address to the Site Global Conference in Vancouver. So thank you so much for taking the time out, and the best of luck later on today when you're given the award by the Nameless brand. That's a global brand and very important. So thank you again, Dorothéa, and we'll see you very soon. Thank you.
Thank you again for the generous gift of your time, and I'll see everybody in Vancouver in January. Ciao for now.